Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Doodle Robot and today we're unpackaging this cool thing. This is the only supply I bought in January. I'm so excited about it. I've taken off, and covered the personal information. I opened it to make sure it wasn't damaged because I have problems with that, but we're going to unbox and play with my new thing. So exciting. Okay. All right, here we go. Yes, that's my squeal of delight. All right, I'm just going to throw this bag on the floor. Okay. You know I love to paint. Okay, so let's get this open. I'm going to try not to damage myself here. All right, so exciting. Okay. All right, this is Himi gouache. I think they call it jelly gouache. I believe they call it jelly gouache. This is a palette. Because these little cups look like little cups of jelly that I've never seen. But anyways, I guess they do. Alright, let me zoom you in here a little bit. Okay, came with a palette and 3 brushes. I fell down the Himi jelly gouache, YouTube Alright. Okay, they've got their little, they're very stiff, so we'll put those in water. Somebody said that they really like these. When I fell down the rabbit hole, I watched a ton of Himi jelly gouache videos. I especially like the, I don't know what it's called, Studio Ghibli? I especially like that style. Okay. Alright, here's what they look like. Does this have a name? Black. It's hard to see. I don't have the right glasses on to see that. Alright, so this is like the little cup they come in. I guess that's what looks like the jelly. This is not something I've eaten personally, so I don't know, but alright, let's try to get it open here. I hope it's nice. Okay, it's hard to open. Oh my goodness. The jelly gouache is stronger than I am. Okay, oh gosh. Squirting out all over the place. I don't know how they do this on camera so neatly. Okay, well, we can see that I'm going to have to open all of those off camera. All right. Yeah. It looks a little jelly-ish. I could see why they would call it that. All right, I've got a chopstick here. Let's stir it a little and see what happens. Oh, feels very silky and nice. All right, well, I'm going to open all of these and get my painting stuff ready, and then we'll come back and we will paint with them. All right, so I'll see you in just a second. Okay, we're back, and I've opened them all up. You can see here. And we're going to sit down. I'm going to sit down and we're going to discuss my thoughts on the matter. So, probably going to zoom in a bit so I can see you while I'm sitting down here. Okay. So, my Himi thoughts here. There's a card. I'm guessing that this is the Miya company, Maya company. The card's interesting. There's pigment number information. There's even light fast ratings, which I find interesting. Most of these have 3 stars. There's a couple 4s and I think a few 5s. Burnt umber, black, ochre, earthy yellow were 5s. Prussian blue was a 4, and I think the rest are 3s. I was looking at it earlier, so that's interesting. You know, as a colorist, I don't really care about that, but good to know, I guess. I'm not going to test it either. I'm sure there's people on YouTube who've tested it if you care to look. All right, the names. Okay, so here was kind of my wiping off paper. Now, this color here is called Earth Yellow. And yeah, it looks like earth yellow. I'll buy that. This color here, this dark reddish brown color, is called ochre. I would call that ochre, although earth yellow works too, but I would call that ochre, sorry. And that's not ochre, but it's called ochre. So the names are a little off. For example, this one here, this pink color, is called purple. So the names are a little off. But as I tell my students, it's like the only reason you're writing names is so you can find the right name pencil or pen or paint or whatever. You're looking with your eyes. Don't trust any name that you see. I think a lot of these things that we get made in other countries might lose something in the translation, or maybe whoever works for the company is not an artist and doesn't maybe understand the names, or they get reversed. It seems like I've seen that in a few packs of pencils, like these 2 pencils are each named the wrong thing. They might have just gotten it reversed when they were making it or whatever. So things happen, use your eyes. These little cups are all 30 milliliters. So it's quite a bit of paint. Let's see how much my little tube of Van Gogh opaque white paint is. Does it say? Can I read it? Oh my gosh. Okay. 10 milliliters. There we go. 10 milliliters. So this is 10 and those little cups are 30. And this little thing, oh gosh, it was like, I can't remember if it was $4 or $6. But this whole box of 24 30 milliliter cups, I bought it on sale. It was $25.50. And I just looked today, I just clicked on the one that I bought. It went up to $30, $29.99 for 24. The 18 pack costs about $24, which is why I went, because, you know, it was $24 for 18 or $25 for 24, so I went with the 24 pack. If I really, really like them and I find that I'm using them, I may go ahead and get I think there's a 50 pack and a 56 pack, and the white you can buy, it's in this little, I don't know, it looks like something astronauts use, and you just squirt it out. It's kind of big. To refill the whites, which, you know, I'll probably get because I tend to be a user of white when mixing colors. This seems like, I rearranged the colors, by the way, which we'll talk about in my thoughts after. They came in very strange order, but I rearranged them the way that I like them. somebody else might arrange them differently. So, continuing on. Oh, the 50-pack, the 56-pack, I believe was about $53. So it seems like they're about $1 a cup, basically. Unless you get the little 18-pack, and then it's a little more. So I guess as you get more, you're paying for economies of scale. All right. Okay, so opening them. They were messy. I had paint all over me when I was done opening them. So, those people who do it on YouTube all nice and neat, I don't know how they do it. Anyways, some of them were really easy to open and some were really hard to open. And when I got about 2/3 of the way through opening them, I figured out the trick. Now, if I can get one out to show you, maybe. They're not that easy to get out of the little... See, I'm already getting messy here. Okay, the trick to opening them, there's, with the peel off top that it had, if you don't peel from the corner like we all want to peel from the corner usually, at least I do, I don't know. If you actually, and there's a little part of the top that's a little longer, the other side is shorter, so you want to peel from the longer side, I recognize that right away. But if you peel from kind of the middle, it's going to go much easier than trying to peel it from the corner for some reason. So peel on the longer side, not from the corner, but from the middle. And they come off much easier that way. I didn't know that till I was like 2/3 of the way through the pack. So there's the tip on opening your things for you. The container. Now, it worries me a little bit because I've opened it and closed it a couple times, but it doesn't quite, I don't know if I can even make my thing go this way, but you gotta really like snap it closed, and if you really like snap it closed, you like muscle it closed, it feels like it's pretty airtight. However, then it's rather hard to get open. I don't think I closed it well. And I would wonder that if after time and time again of doing that, if this might, because you're kind of using this to pull it up, if this might break off at some point. But I mean, it seems like really, it's like thick plastic though. And I'm not certain about the air tightness, or how long, if you really like press it closed like it's supposed to be and really get it closed, how long the container would last. That's up in the air. I don't know. So, sorry, gonna pull my chair back in and sit down so we can be comfortable while talking about our stuff. So that's a word about the container. The condition of the paint. I mean, I watched a lot of channels on the Himi jelly gouache, and some people didn't say anything about the condition of the paint. I remember a couple people said that they probably got old paints and they had like a layer of oil on the top, and mine were in very respectable condition. Some were very moist and some were less moist. Okay, so I don't think that I necessarily got like a really old thing that had been sitting on the shelf a long time. Some were more and some were less separated. But having said that, a word about separation. Paint, be it watercolor, gouache, oil, acrylic, if you know, I've been a painter for a long time, even house paint does it too. You own it long enough, and I've squeezed out acrylic and oil and watercolor paints where they've separated in the tube. I'm not talking about the tubes that come like this, various kinds of tubes. They get old enough, they start separating. I can't tell you how many times I've squeezed out acrylic, watercolor, oil, whatever it is, and it's separated, and you get a squirt of like the stuff that looks like oily, shiny stuff. There was one that had the appearance of that, but I mixed it all together. It was easily mixable again. So just a word on separation of paints. I suspect that some were more or less separated depending on the chemicals they use in the different colors. Some chemicals separate quicker than other chemicals. Okay? I teach ceramics, and glazes do that too. The chemicals separate, water evaporates out of them, you're continually stirring them. Mixing them. Once I left filming, I know when I was filming I used my chopstick to stir it because it was handy on my desk here. I don't recommend you stir it with chopstick. Don't do that. It's too big. Use a toothpick. I went and got a toothpick for the rest of them. The toothpick worked perfectly. It allowed me to spread it on the paper quickly so I could put them in the order that I wanted them and just throw it away. And it's like, what, a penny a toothpick or something maybe? Maybe not even a penny. A word about chopsticks. The reason I have chopsticks on my art desk is because I don't use them for eating, because I hate chopsticks for eating. I love any kind of Asian food. It's delicious, but I don't like chopsticks. I use chopsticks for mixing ceramic glazes. That's why they're on my art desk. So, yes, chopsticks work fabulously well for that. So don't use chopstick, use a toothpick, and it worked great. Now mine, in the time that I was mixing my paints and getting them all ready, and I haven't even swatched them yet, we're going to swatch them together, I've only made my little swatch sheet there. Some of them started getting a layer, like a crispy layer on top. But I live in the desert. I live in a very dry climate. So, you know, probably I'm going to have to mist mine often. These are going to be something that, you know, I have to care for. And I realize that I bought them because they're open. I don't have to squeeze them out of little tubes. They're open. I can see them. And they're pretty true. They're pretty true to the color that they are on the thing. Like there's the yellow, there's what's called medium yellow, I think. This is orange, that's red. They're pretty close to what, now they're not in order because I ordered them differently, but they're pretty close to what you see there. So even though I'm going to do a swatch chart, because that's just what I do, I swatch everything, I don't imagine that once I've used these a few times I'm going to have to even refer to the swatch chart. Okay, so I'm going to switch you to time lapse, and we're going to swatch them together. Like I said, here's my swatch sheet. I've got two sides. One's for as opaque as I can get it, and we'll see if it covers a black line. The other side is going to be for watering it down to see it in its transparent state, because the great thing about these is you can use them more like watercolors where they're very, very transparent, and you can use them more like gouache where they're more opaque. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of tests, and I've ranked them how I want them, which may be different from you. I kind of put them in color wheel order, and then the last row here are my neutrals and earth tones, which is how I like them. The skinish color, which looks like that, it's kind of skinish. I put in earth tones because I don't do that many people. I'm not that into people. I'm more into the earth colors altogether, lights and darks. So that's why I've put them like that. So I'm going to switch you over. We'll do it. I'll come back. I'll do my thoughts. And then we're going to play on various coloring book papers to see how they do on the coloring book papers. Do they bleed through? Do they ghost? Do they just lay on top like acrylics do? We're gonna see what happens. All right, so I'll see you in a bit. Okay, we're back. And so what are my first impressions thus far? They are remarkably similar, I feel, to acrylic paints, actually, without the added benefit of being able to acrylic paints are permanent once they dry. So gouache are not that way. But painting them directly out of the tub, for the most part, they're very sticky and hard to paint with. And these are like the sides, the watered down version. Some I didn't water down enough to really give a watercolor effect, but once they're watered down, they paint very nicely. And if you just take them out of the tub and water them down a little bit, I feel like those actually perform better. Even look at the black. I don't know if it's showing up, but this black side, which has a little bit of water mixed in with it, looks much better than the black just straight out of the little jelly dish thing. My white, unfortunately, I think I had a dirty brush there. It's got a tinge of, I think, jade green in it. So, and I was trying to water them down a lot, but even it still doesn't look like watercolor paint. It looks like a thick watercolor paint there. So if you want that watercolor really translucent, you're going to have to water them down quite a bit. The Prussian green, blue is very, very dark. So is the burnt umber. They almost look like black. Not quite, but almost. And watered down, they look more like the color they're supposed to be. They're nice. I'm still, oh God, sorry. I have eraser dust all over the place. Some of them are opaque. Sky blue was opaque here. The pale purple almost. The white, not. You can see it a little bit. The super dark colors, of course, yeah. Earth yellow, yeah. So, people talking about opaque gouache, I don't know, it's not that opaque. It's about the same, I would say about the same as acrylic, actually. So now, as part of our first impression, we're going to test on different kinds of coloring book paper. And first up, I have a Carla Magana book. So we have our Amazon paper. This is Spooklets. It was just right here handy. So we'll test it on the paper. Let me get some paper to back it with. Now, even with acrylic paint, this is acrylic paint here, even it's watered down acrylic paint. It ghosts a little bit, but it doesn't really go through even on Amazon paper. So let's see how gouache does, our Himi gouaches. So for me in Arizona, I'm going to have to be, it's going to be a continual battle to keep them moist. So they dry fast. I'm going to use the ones on the palette here and reconstitute them a little. They're already drying out just to see what happens. There's eraser dust everywhere. Let's see, versus this one here, right out of the tub. Huh, I would say pretty similar, maybe a little more ghosting than acrylic paint. Now this is Amazon paper, so it's very thin. Once that would dry, my guess would be it would be okay. Now, let's see here. I put my brush in water, sorry. If you let it dry, like most paint requires more than one coat. On the videos I've watched, it says there's a learning curve with exactly how much water to add to get just the right amount. Still no difference there, not really. That was the dark, dark brown. To really get a sense of these, I know I'm going to have to actually use them in an actual coloring. Earth yellow, also known as ochre, but not called ochre here. That's ochre. They buckle the paper about the same as watercolor, probably about the same as acrylic. Let's see my acrylic one here. Yeah, it's buckled. Yeah, it's about the same. All right, let's try some different paper, but Amazon's the thinnest paper, so, oh, should we try, is this dry? No, it's still not dry. I know what we should try. We should try a color on top of another color. Now, gouache is not permanent, so what color should we try on top here? This dark red. Well, maybe I'll try the dark red on top of the blue. If you mess with it too much, it's going to lift up the blue. If you're decisive about it, you're probably going to be okay. See, it starts, the more I mess with it, it starts coming off. So you got to let it definitely dry. Let's try that one with some white. Whoa. I'm getting paint water everywhere. Yeah, if you get really scrubby with it, it just reactivates the color behind it, as expected. But that's kind of 3 layers. Let's see. Amazon paper's still a champ there. If you're going to paint on top of another color, you just have to swipe it on and not mess with it anymore. Sorry, should I zoom you in there? All right. I feel like if it's safe on Amazon paper, it's probably, as being the thinnest paper, it's probably going to be safe on lots of papers. Let's try something else. We'll let this dry. We'll come back and look at it in a second. All right, closest to me was Johanna Basford. Oh, good. We have a color test page. Ooh. Oh, my book is breaking to bits. All right. Let's see here. Let's try this red color. It's kind of like when you go put a color over another color and you scrub at it and it blends the 2 colors together. There's positive and negative there. In college we used to say, the great thing about oil paint is it takes so long to dry. And the bad thing about oil paint is it takes so long to dry. So, meaning that you could go back and blend with oil paint forever and you look like a master blender. And probably, if you practiced a bit and got the hang of it, probably the same could be said about gouache. Except you have to learn to work with the non-drying nature of it. All right, we put 2 pretty dark colors on the Johanna Basford page here, and when I get the light behind it just right, I can see it ghosting. So my guess is it's going to be fine. On Johanna Basford paper, what could we do? Yep, so when working on top of your gouache, you're going to have to let it dry, unless you want to mix it. You could use scrubbing to your advantage to get the color underneath to mix with a highlight color on top. That would be great. All right, let's see what else we can test here. We're going to set Johanna Basford aside. Okay, I've got Beauty of Horror here, number 3. I believe there are test pages here somewhere. Yes, there are. Awesome. Okay. Let's test this dark color. That one does not want to stay open. Let's put white on top of it. It's still wet, so Oh, I might have blended too much into that light, too much water. I can kind of see a little bit of ghosting. This paper is pretty good, I think, for the gouache. Oh, I like the way, let me hold this up to you here. I like the way that blended right there, that middle one. Now, depending on what I'm doing, if I want to get a blend like that, I guess I could paint it on wet, with the gouache that's still wet underneath. It was wet, so if I wanted to not blend, I have to kind of paint on top of it, but quick. You can't be scrubbing, otherwise the color beneath is going to reactivate and blend with it, which could work for you if you made a mistake or something, I guess. All right, that's pretty interesting. Let's see if our Amazon paper has dried at all. Okay. Yeah, everything feels dry. It buckles about the same as acrylic paint. Not much different there. Should we try more? This one has 3 layers right there. Should we try a 4th layer? I like to layer. We'll do this dark red here. Touch of water. Okay. All right, so we got as much as 4 layers there. That's just 2. It's pretty good. My first impressions are pretty positive. My brain's kind of going 90 miles an hour. I think what I really need to do now is sit down and just paint something. I'll probably get out a design book. That's usually what I do. It's easy to test things on a design and see what we can do with a design, maybe. All right. I thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time. I hope you have a wonderful day. Live long and prosper. Bye-bye.